So how many of you know what the term stochastic terrorism means? Like, just at a base level. You don't have to have a super niche understanding of it, but just a standard understanding of what it is. So, for those of you who might not know, stochastic terrorism is the idea that if you suggest that a certain party should be eliminated out of the populace, maybe not even overtly saying that, but simply suggesting that we as a society would be better without them, eventually somebody is going to do something about them, and they will be, well, effectively motivated by your words. You are saying in a crowd, won't somebody rid me of this meddlesome priest? And you're hoping that anybody in that crowd might actually do it. It's a way for somebody to target vulnerable groups of people, or even vulnerable individuals, or any individual really, without actually getting the blood on their hands. After all, whoever engages in an act of stochastic terrorism, they're just a lone wolf. They're just somebody who went to attack another person, and we have no idea why that happened. We don't know that they've been listening to a bunch of podcasts from influencers saying that there's a group of people that we need to be getting rid of. It creates plausible deniability for the people who are hiding behind it. So, keep that in mind when I tell you that Senator Mark Kelly has said Monday that he and his family have seen threats to their lives increase since President Trump called for the Arizona Democrat and a group of other Democratic lawmakers to be executed after they urged several members to refuse illegal orders, several members of the armed services. So, remember when I said in a previous video that Donald Trump actively saying that members of Congress should be killed was a bad thing? Wild, strange even, that it would be considered a bad thing to do. Well, turns out, if you argue that, you don't even need a court of law to say that those people have done anything worth getting killed over. You don't need that at all. All you need is the suggestion thrown into the air that it would be a good thing for those people to be eliminated. And some lone wolf somewhere might do your dirty work for you. When Donald Trump argued that these Democratic lawmakers should be taken out of the gene pool effectively, when he argues that on Truth Social, there are people who read that and go, yes, sir, Mr. President, I know exactly what to do. Like, after all, the president's the top power in the United States, and he said that these people need to die. Why wouldn't you just do it, right? Kelly told reporters during a press conference that he and his wife, former Representative Gabby Giffords, have received an uptick in threats since Trump's comments, and the Pentagon announced that it is now investigating him and other Democrats in the video. He says, I'm no stranger. Gabby and I are no stranger to political violence. We get a lot of threats already. She has threats on her life, more so today because of what Donald Trump said about me 10 days ago. Kelly said when asked if he has stepped up his security since the remarks were made. He says the threats to us have obviously gone up. Kelly declined to get into specifics about their personal security. That's honestly good OPSEC. Never, ever, ever tell people what security measures you have taken. Because if you do, they will find ways to undermine those security measures. Alternatively, lie about your security measures. Like, basically, it's good OPSEC for nobody except a handful of people that you trust to know what measures there are to protect you and yourself. Like, as far as y'all are concerned, I might have some cameras, and I might have some guns, and that's about as much as any of you will know about my personal security at my house. The Arizona senator added that he has not heard anything further from the Department of Defense or others in the administration outside the public social media postings by the Pentagon and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, the lovely, wonderful pillar of mediocrity himself. The Defense Department said at the time it was investigating serious allegations of misconduct by Kelly, who is a retired naval captain. Now, note, the Defense Department and other departments under Donald Trump are filled now with Trump loyalists. If you've read any of Project 2025, it specifically goes into the need to upend the leadership in every single one of these posts and replace them with people who are loyal not to the country, but to the president specifically. These are people who are going to take a lot of time to dislodge if a Democratic president takes over. They can gum up the factory, as it were, for that president while he's in office. And while we have the Republican president in, they are yes men that will do whatever the fuck he says. Kelly appeared alongside a bunch of other people in a video that set off a series of comments that angered Trump and Hegseth. The senator said that the recent targeted killings of drug traffickers on boats in the Caribbean and Pacific had not prompted the Democratic video. Instead, he said it was the scores of remarks by the president dating back nearly a decade. It wasn't about a specific event. I was really surprised that he responded at all, Kelly said, noted that he and other lawmakers had released a similar video previously. That's because Donald Trump has the memory of a goldfish. If you play into his ego, he will just love you. And if you tell him that he's an idiot with a small penis, he will hate you. That is it. That is President Trump and his politics in a nutshell. He also said that he became aware of Trump's comments while sitting next to Slotkin in a sensitive compartmented information facility during a briefing. An aide passed Slotkin a note detailing that Trump had called for her execution. She leaves the room. 5 minutes later, she comes back and says to me, "He's called for your execution too." That was not the response we expected. And that's where the post on the Hill dies. Or not dies, but that's where it ends. Can you imagine right now, like just for a moment, I want you to imagine being a member of Congress and having somebody tell you that your boss, who has every legal authority to have you killed, he does. He can just call it an official act and say that he was perfectly well within his rights to do it no matter what. That's the thing that the Supreme Court ruled. They argued specifically in the Supreme Court whether or not the president could order an assassination of a United States citizen. And it was argued in the Supreme Court that he could do that, that he would be legally allowed to do that if it was considered retroactively part of his official duties. That's terrifying. So now imagine that that person who has the power to have you killed, if only he had the brain power to make it happen, calls publicly for your death. And now let's say, for instance, that you're somebody who's been involved in politics long enough to understand, even at a base level, what stochastic terrorism is. You know that the president himself does not need to make sure that you die. He doesn't need to do that. He can. It'd be a show of power. It's a thing within his ability to do. But he doesn't have to do that to have you killed. He simply needs to state into the ether that it would be more convenient if you died. And somebody, somewhere, will act on it without Trump having to lift a finger. And guess what? Who the fuck's going to actually prosecute him in court for that? We barely know how to prosecute people for stochastic violence in the first place. We don't have a good system for it. The most we have is a legal framework about incitement of violence, but stochastic terrorism, notably, is not incitement of violence. The statement that it would be better, the world would be better if this person died, does not constitute incitement of violence. In fact, the only person you could probably say that about and get the government angry would be the United States president. If you were to say those words like that, that would likely be something that could be easily argued to be illegal and a threat to national security. But you do it about damn near anybody else. Yep, the whitest kids you know skit. Exactly. You do it about damn near anybody else, and the most somebody can do is say, no, you're wrong. There's very few ways to legally fight against that unless you directly incite violence. That's how strong our speech laws are in the United States. Now imagine you know all this as a member of Congress. So you know that there's nothing you can do, and you have a ticking time bomb on your fucking lifespan. That is a situation that I would never wish on somebody. I would never want somebody to feel so unsafe in their own skin that they couldn't know if the country that they were born in was going to be safe for them to wake up in the next day. But that is the reality for a bunch of sitting members of Congress right now because of our president. Either the president's direct words mean that he can try to get them fucking killed, or one of his sycophants will just do it anyway. That's a terrifying idea, and even in the world where nothing happens to them, they still have to wake up every day with that knowledge. That's terrifying, and I don't know how I would handle that. I have received death threats in my life. I have had people try to find out where I live and try to harm me. I have had people email me absolutely nasty fucking things. I have had these experiences. But I'm not a sitting member of Congress who has to get up there every day with a group of my peers that are equally arguing that I shouldn't be allowed to live. That's not something that I'm actively dealing with right now. But there are 6 members of Congress who are dealing with that, with Republican members of Congress that agree in some form or fashion with their collective boss that wants them executed. They have to come into work every day and see those faces. The threat isn't just in their email or potentially across the country. The threat could be in their fucking backyard, and they have no way of knowing it until it's too late. That's their reality right now as a waking fucking nightmare. That's our president, everybody. This is why when some dipshit argues that wearing a MAGA hat in a Magic the Gathering tournament should not be a reason to be kicked out of the tournament, I'm sorry, but a president who can incite that kind of fear tacitly, just on his fucking Truth Social website, and he's perfectly willing to do it, you are saying you are in support of that. I do not consider you a safe person around other people, in general. That said, let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. I feel like I was fairly pointed in this video, but if you value honest and fair political analysis that tries to make politics a little less miserable, do me a favor, subscribe, tell 3 friends what I'm doing over here, and hell, let me know what you thought of the video in the comment section. That said, that's about as much as I can do on this one. I am feeling the sinus pressure something absolutely fucking awful. Hey, you made it to the end. I want to give an extra thanks to the patrons who allow me to do this full time. I want to thank Aaron Rail, Astral, Britzkrieg, Jemshin, Poundini, Red Joker, Victoria, Jonas, Craig, Tarika, Fireshard, Smiling GM, John, Dren Hadamada, Creeper, Sagitta, you know I'm not saying that last part, Valis of Seraph, Ottoman Angel, Rooster Rachel, and Fire Panda, who are all my $20 and up patrons.